Hi, and welcome to this third episode of the Xylos Cloud Chat. My name is Tim Jacobs.
And I'm Geert Baker.
And today we're going to talk about the billing and RateCard API in Azure, which provides us more insights in both the consumption and how much our consumption usage will cost in Azure. Because, Geert, this is apparently a question that we get a lot from customers.
Yes, most of our customers really need this information.
Can you tell us something about these APIs and why we can use them?
Yeah, well, let's first of all indeed take a look at why you would actually want to have this. As you know, as a user of cloud, it's very easy to spin up resources as much as you want. We also internally, for example, we give Azure credentials to our employees. They are using all kinds of things on Azure. After a while, you don't know what you're using, you don't know what it costs you. And of course, you want to have a view on that. Your budget is not going away. So we need something to keep track of what we're doing in these cloud environments. And luckily, there is something called IT Financial Management, which can help us with this.
Okay, and can you tell us a bit more about what IT Financial Management encompasses?
Well, it's actually pretty boring, so I won't tell you a lot more about it. But suffice it to say, it's, let's say, a broad range of solutions which give us insight into, okay, what is IT costing us? What will it cost us in the future? How can we optimize this cost and so on? And with the advent of cloud, with this dynamic consumption of these resources, that information also needs to be given to these IT financial management systems. So basically, what we need is something that feeds usage and pricing information to these systems to get a better handle of what cloud is costing us, how we're using it, and how we can optimize our cloud usage and spend.
Don't we have something like this already in Azure? If I remember correctly, it's very easy to pull up a comma-separated file with all the resource types, all the resource consumption, and the cost.
Sure, actually this exists today. And let's maybe go into a little bit more detail on what is available. So first of all, you have the accounts portal. Yeah, every account owner, that's the person who creates subscriptions, can log into this portal, see all the subscriptions in Azure, and can see the cost-related information and usage information as well. And from there, you can actually download a CSV file, as you said, with all this information in it. Of course, the manual process, you have to download the CSV file and in some way input this into your systems. You can write some code around it, but it's not very efficient or fun to do even. It's a bit better with the EA portal, so the Enterprise Agreement portal that Microsoft provides for EA customers who commit for a certain amount of spend on Azure. That EA portal has an API. That API goes a bit further. It allows a bit more control over obtaining the information about spend and usage. The fact of the matter is, again, you basically download a CSV again using code. So it's better than what the account portal provides, and it's something you will have to use as an EA customer because your pricing information is of course in there. The rates you negotiated with Microsoft, which are specific to you, are provided by that API.
So with the APIs, you get a lot more flexibility, I suppose, and get access to more details.
Absolutely. Just let's take a look at what they actually provide, these two APIs. They're two distinct APIs that you call separately. And of course, both provide programmatic access to the information. The first provides access to usage, clearly. The other one provides access to, let's say, all the types of resources which are available in Azure, so not necessarily the ones that you are consuming, and then the price that is tied to those offers.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, in order to get the full cost information, you need to first query for the usage and then multiply it by the rate at which you're paying it, which you get from the RateCard API.
Absolutely. There is no one thing you can do to get your cost directly displayed back to you. You have to indeed do those two distinct operations. There are some other differences besides that obvious difference between the two. For example, the usage API is for all Azure types. So if you're buying Azure with a credit card, or you're using an MSDN subscription, or you're an enterprise agreement customer, you can get usage from any of those subscriptions using this usage API. The RateCard API is a bit different in that it provides access to rates except for the enterprise agreements today. And this will change probably in the future. So for those enterprise agreement customers, of course, most of our customers will be enterprise agreement customers, they will still have to rely on this EA portal API to get their pricing information from the portal. So hopefully that will change. So there is one API, this one, that takes care of everything in fact. Another interesting thing, and it's similar for both APIs, that they support Azure Active Directory. So you need to log on with an Azure AD account. depending on the rights you have within Azure AD and on those resources in Azure, you're allowed to get the information or not. And that's a big difference, for example, with the API in the EA portal that was using an API key. And as you know, if you have the API key, you have access to everything within that API in that case. And that's not as interesting, especially in enterprise scenarios. It's better to integrate with your Azure Active Directory environment.
So Geert, can you show us how you can use these APIs?
We can do it with, first of all, PowerShell. We won't show you that. We will show an example in Visual Studio. But PowerShell, of course, is rather easy. It's one command that you can actually use to get the information that you want from the system. So let's have a look at how this is done in Visual Studio. Because as you know, real men use Visual Studio, Tim. And I have some code here which has been provided by Microsoft with their samples on GitHub. There are several samples available. This is the one that uses the usage API, so not the RateCard API, but they are very similar in how they are used. We won't go into the specifics of the code, but as we said, first of all, there is integration with Azure AD. So we first have to obtain a token from Azure AD, which is done by this call here. The actual function is defined a little bit lower in the code, but we won't go into that. When I have this token, I will need to have this token to call the REST API and prove who I am in this case. By the way, it's also important to note that you have to do a couple of things in Azure AD itself. You have to create an Azure AD application where you will get a client ID. That client ID will have to be used within this code to get the whole thing work. So then basically it's a REST API. As we said, we are building a request URL to the Microsoft Commerce system in the backend that provides all of this information. And in this case, we are going for usage, so usage aggregates as is mentioned in the URL. Then we're building the actual request, and we do the request, basically receive a stream of information back. The only thing I did here was to modify the code a bit, so we write out the stream as well to a text file. So again, no more details about the actual code. What we're interested in is what do we get back as information. Let's take a look at the JSON output that we got from our API call. And basically, the result will look like this. What you'll see here is the network data transfer in Azure. It's a specific start time and end time. That's what you can provide to the system when you do your call. And of course, all this information here provide details about the meter, the region, the category, the unit, and so on. And most importantly, of course, the quantity that was consumed within that time frame. And as we discussed earlier, now you have to go and grab the rate using the RateCard API to basically get the complete cost that was made here. Yeah?
Okay, Geert, this is very interesting, but isn't this a lot of work just to get some details about costs and billing and usage?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you just want to get let's say a basic view on your usage and cost, you can use the existing portals. This is really meant for developers who work inside an organization. They have a billing system internally. They want to feed this information to this billing system. For them, it's a great solution. And of course, we recommend to our customers to start looking at some third-party solutions, which are actually using these APIs and provide out-of-the-box solutions to provide a view on their usage and their costs. So let's take a look at those ones. We've taken out two. There are two well-known ones when it comes to Azure and also Amazon, because they do both typically. Yep. They also provide cost information for other systems as well, like OpenStack and so on. So it's not just for Azure. The first solution is Cloud Cruiser. They're integrating with Microsoft, and they provide reports as the one you see here. For example, here you see that a specific department cost is shown. That can be done using the tags, for example, you provide in Azure Resources and so on. A second partner, it's also quite well known, is Cloudin. Cloudin also uses these same APIs again to provide information about, usage and cost. But just provided to you as a service out of the box. Naturally, you will have to buy this service and pay for it. But they provide this information for you without you having to dig in deep into the internals of the system.
Okay. Isn't it a bit strange, Geert, that you need to buy a new product to get insights in your consumption of your cloud provider?
Might seem so, but of course they do provide some additional added value. First of all, they are multi-cloud solutions. So if you're using multiple clouds, you're using OpenStack, you use Azure, you use Amazon and others, you might want to have one system that shows the cost and usage of all these cloud providers. A second thing that they do is typically also provide you with some what-if analysis. So you're using, let's say you're using a specific, you have specific resources internally in your private cloud environment. You want to know what it would cost when you move these resources to a public cloud environment. These tools can provide that information to you. A third benefit is also that these tools, they don't just collect usage and pricing information, but they also know what's going on inside your resource. For example, what's going on inside your virtual machines. And if they see, for example, that you have deployed a virtual machine, multi-core, lots of memory, but you're not using it, they will basically tell you, look, you have all these resources assigned, you're paying for them, but you could actually downsize these machines to something else and pay less on a monthly or yearly basis. So those kind of features provide really an added value for using these solutions.
Okay, so these products really fit into the entire cloud life cycle. So from the start, when you build a business case, you want to assess how much migrating a new workload to the cloud will cost. These tools can help you. But also when you're operating workloads in the cloud, you can see where the cost optimization and the tweaking is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not just limited to cost and usage. They go beyond that.
Okay, so if you want to have more details about your cloud usage, then be sure to have a look at these products. If you need some help, just give us a call. And that's wrapping it up for this episode of the Xylos Cloud Chat. See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.